40-45. I done figured this raps it out. I maps it out strategically. Timing is everything, and it seems to be the key to my success.
Alright, what's going on, everybody? My name is Nikita Nazarov. I am formerly known as the Russian hockey analyst. This is the hockey channel for all hockey fans to be in, Inside Hockey with Nikitos. And today I wanted to take a look at the NHL standings at Thanksgiving. And this is where 77% of the time, I should say, we have an accurate historical number about the standings and who should make it and who should not. But this year, it's total chaos. In fact, the contenders do look real, the surprises look dangerous, and the disappointments, well, some teams are hanging on by threads. So let's go ahead and break down the real state of these NHL standings, the playoff picture, who's legit, who's fool's gold, and who might actually collapse by spring. Alright, so I'm going to break it down into three sections. The first section is for the juggernaut teams. The second section is going to be for the teams that have been surprising us this year. And the third section would be for the disappointing teams. So we're going to start all the way at the top. This is going to be with this team right here, the Colorado Avalanche. They're clearly by far the best team in the NHL right now. Now, this video is being recorded as of Wednesday, November 26th, 2025. So since this is going to post later on Thanksgiving Day, if you're in the US, the standings might look a little bit different, or some of the stats that I'm about to bring up might be slightly different, but Colorado is currently a wagon, okay? So they got a 16-1-5 record. That means only one regulation loss in 22 games so far this year that they've played. Almost flawless. A lead with or without McKinnon and Makar on the ice. And usually, I remember in years past, you would look at the analytics and you would see that those two guys actually make a big difference when they're on the ice versus when they're not. And in fact, this year, Colorado has actually surpassed those expectations. Currently, they sit at 99% playoff odds, so they're basically a lock for the playoffs this year, unless they absolutely just collapse in the next, 10 games or so, or in the second half of the year. There's no way they're missing the playoffs. They're the bar the league measures against, which I agree with. Add in the Blackwood, Wedgwood stabilizing goaltending, and you have a team that isn't slowing down. Then you have the teams right below them, which is Vegas and Dallas. So right now, Vegas, they have injuries everywhere. They're still producing. Their power play is actually still lethal. And it certainly helps having Mitch Marner on that squad. Now, Dallas has 3.1 goals averaged per 60 in November, where it shows that their depth scoring is actually firing on all cylinders. It's not just the Robertsons, the Rantanens of the world that are getting it done offensively. It's the depth guys that are also providing that much needed offense. Now, in the East, those secondary teams I would be talking about that are elite, I would say, because Colorado to me is the only team right now in the NHL that you could consider superstar status, but these are all elite teams. So it would be the Hurricanes and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Carolina currently, they have elite 5v5 creation, even with injuries and slow starts. And Tampa Bay went from the bottom to top in 1 month, which is actually pretty incredible. The kind of year that they were having at the start of the year, I was really questioning their depth. I was questioning the team overall and its state, but they've really outdone themselves, I will say. So that depth and that star power is really doing them a lot of work right now. All right, now we're in the second section of teams. Now, these are the surprising teams so far this year. This is where things get spicy. So in the East, you have the Red Wings, who are currently second in the Atlantic. They were first in the Atlantic, I believe, as soon as 2 or 3 days ago. And they're finally taking that next step. At the start of the year, they were, I would say at some point, they got off to a slow start. And I was like, okay, this looks like a Detroit team that faltered after the first 15 games of Todd McClellan's tenure there. But now they've looked legit. The Islanders are surging though. Schaefer has been electric for them. There's an article that came out on the NHL.com. Matthew Dosh talks about Matthew Schaefer's impact on the team. I highly suggest you guys read the article. and Sorokin is elite again. And I think it starts with Sorokin, it ends with Sorokin for this team. Like, if he's going to give them that top-tier, top-notch goaltending, this team is going to be in the playoff picture. But if this team, by any stretch of imagination, goes through a lull in their goaltending woes, and those goaltending woes come back again like they reared its ugly head last year, then expect this team to be on the outside looking in. The Bruins are overachieving during a retool stage. I think to a certain extent, if you look at that roster, you can make that case. However, I've watched Bruins games this year, and I would say that the systems that have been implemented in place by their new head coach, Marco Sturm, I think have worked really well. I think this is a team that has its identity in place. I think this is a team that knows how to play the game the right way. And so this is not necessarily of luck, but I think it's both. It's hard work and it's luck at the same time that's been in the favor of the Bruins. And as a result, they find themselves top 3 in the Atlantic right now. Pastrnak and Swayman, they have been, the biggest, obviously, stars on the team, and rightfully so. These guys are getting paid the big bucks. They're expected to play, their heads off. But everybody else on the team, I think, is chipping in. They're doing their best. And I think if it was only those two guys going, you wouldn't see Boston where they are in the standings right now. They got off to a very slow start at the start of the year, and I was like, okay, this looks more like the Bruins team that I expected, but they've really have surged over the last 10, 12 games or so, and it's been good to see as a Bruins fan. Now, the Penguins, they're hanging in there despite inconsistency as of late. I think they've been a little better over 500 over the last 10 games or so, but you can start to see some of the cracks in their game starting to show up. And it's not even just the fact that Tristan Jarry was out of the lineup. It's just the entire team. Something was really clicking there for the first 15 games, but I think this is going to happen. This is still a team in transition. They're a team that, yes, I respect their head coach a lot. I think he's done a very good job with them. His name just doesn't pop in my head right now, but he was the assistant coach, of course, for the Rangers last year. And it's funny how Sullivan jumps from the Penguins organization to the Rangers organization, and you see the Rangers have been struggling as well. Not as well, but it's just a little bit of a surprise, right? Where the Penguins are the better team right now and the Rangers are the worst of the two. So we'll see if the Penguins can keep it up. But I was reading an article as well lately. You guys can check out my last video. I'll try to post the link up here at the top right corner for you guys right now, so you guys can check out that video. But I discussed the Malkins and Crosby's future with the Penguins. And so far, there's really nothing much to discuss there. But the real question is, how long can Detroit and the Islanders hold off the big dogs? And it's a legit question that's posed. I think the Red Wings, they are a team that could compete for a playoff spot. I just don't know if they have everything that it takes to be a playoff team necessarily. I think they do have a better goaltending situation than they did last year, even though they went from having Talbot and Alex Lyon to having John Gibson and Cam Talbot. But honestly, everything else around that team has pretty much stayed the same for the most part. I'm not really convinced of their defensive core. Their depth is decent up front, but they're a team that I look at on paper, and it would be good for that team to make the playoffs finally, because they've been out of the playoff picture, it seems like, for so long after being in it for so long. But we'll see what happens, right? And the Islanders, I think right now there's just a lot of buzz around Schaefer, around the team. We'll see how the second half of the year goes. I expect this team to stay in the playoff picture or compete for a playoff spot until the end of the year. I'm just not sure they'll be able to make the playoffs, and the record that they have right now, I'm not sure they'll be able to keep this up, because they're on pace for almost a 51 season. I don't see it personally, but we'll see what happens, right? Now, in terms of the West surprises, you have the Kraken and the Sharks who've been outperforming expectations, but sustainability is the question mark. The Ducks, they're a real breakout. They've really surprised me a lot this year. Leo Carlson, Gauthier, and Terry, they've all ascended. They've taken that next step. 11 quality starts apparently for Dostal this year. So nothing more, nothing less I expected out of Dostal. You look at his numbers last year. Towards the end of the year, it kind of tailed off, but if you look at the 40-50 game mark of last year, he was one of the best goalies, like top 3 goalie based on analytics easily. So they look legit. Now, the playoff odds jump from 25 to 65% for the Ducks. So that's a big jump. I'm not sure if this is comparing it to last year, but nevertheless, I'm happy that the Ducks are in the position that they find themselves in today. All right, here we go. Last but not least, we have the last section, which are the disappointing teams. So this is where feelings do get hurt. The Leafs are dead last in the East. Now, they won last night against Columbus. And if I check the NHL standings right now, I'm doing this live. I'm not sugarcoating anything. But they did get a big win last night, and it helped them to basically jump past the Sabres again. They are currently sitting at 500, NHL 500 that is. If you take into the account their 3 extra losses, they're 10 and 13, so they're not great. Buffalo right now, they have the same amount of games played, but they have 1 less win to show for and 1 more loss in extra time. So that is really the only difference. They're separated by 1 point with them and the Leafs. And the Leafs, again, like the Penguins right now hold the second wild card in the East with 27 points in 22 games. The Leafs, even though they've played 1 more game, they're only 4 points back, and they only have a -7 goal differential. So this team can still turn it around. It's just the issue is they only got their second win of the year this year on the road. Yeah, last night against Columbus. It's just not, great. And I'm recording this clip now as of the next day. I was supposed to post that video last night, but because of editing issues and stuff like that and running out of time, I've had to jump back in and record the last part of the video. They've been 8-4-3 at home so far this year, but again, they need to do better all around. It's not just about your home record. It's about just playing that, full 60-minute game, not just on home ice, but outside of it as well. So we'll see what happens, but certainly the Leafs do find themselves at the bottom of the East standings, whichever way you want to look at it. Now, the Oilers and the Jets, this is why I'm wearing the Jets jersey. McDavid and Draisaitl, they're not superhuman. I watched their game the other night against Dallas, and you can see, like Dallas, they had that depth scoring going. They just played a better overall, more complete game than the Oilers did. And that's really been one of my main critiques of this team as well this year that I haven't said on camera. I'm going to say it now. They don't look like a team that played that playoff hockey last year or the year before when they made it to the finals. And I guess they're just trying to prep themselves for the Olympics, especially most of those superstars that are going to the Olympics on that team, like the Bouchards, the Draisaitl's, the McDavids of the world. But again, you're expecting more out of the team in general. Just a better 60-minute effort is what I would say has been the biggest hampering point. The goaltending definitely doesn't help. The fact that Stuart Skinner looks worse than he's had looked over the last 4 or 5 years as a starting goaltender for the Oilers is not a good sign. I haven't expected much out of Pickard, I'll be honest. He's like a fringe NHL backup anyways. The fact that the Oilers haven't found a way to upgrade their goaltending during the offseason has been part of my frustration with that organization, because I am an Oilers fan. And with the Jets, for me, while Hellebuck means that Winnipeg will be looking shockingly mortal, I still don't think that they've necessarily underachieved this year. Like, we can, again, go back to the standings and we can just look at the stats. The stats speak for themselves. They're 12-10, okay? So it's not as good of a team as they were last year. I completely understand it, but they're still got a +7 goal differential. They're 6-5 on both home and away ice. They're 3-7 in their last 10, so they've just been on the slide. They've lost their last 3 in regulation. But if you take away those, last 3 games, the team was at a 12-7 record. Like, they're going to go through their lows right now. They're adjusting to this new period being without Hellebuck, and it definitely hurts. Anybody's team that loses a superstar, I don't care if it's a goalie, a defenseman, or a forward, they're really going to feel the impacts. But to say that I've been disappointed, not necessarily. We lost Steelers as well, and that's also been an adjustment period for this team. But regardless, I think that the Winnipeg Jets, they'll be a playoff team at the end of the year. How dangerous they look in the playoffs, that's a whole different question, of course. But as of right now, I would say that, yes, they're slipping. So they are correct in that sense. Because I'm taking this information and through The Athletic and stuff like that. That's where I found these numbers from. But nevertheless, though, I still think that they can salvage the season. Now, the Panthers, they're injury-riddled, shaky defense. Bob is not sharp, but Bob has been known for this the last couple of years, especially in the regular season. I think last year he was better in the regular season. I think he had a 903 or a 913 compared to a 900 the year before, but it matters more in the playoffs, personally. And this is what this team has shown the last 2 years. They've been the Stanley Cup champions, so I'm not going to take them lightly. They're never out of it until they're fully out of it. Now, it's still salvageable for this team as well. Tkachuk's return could flip everything. Now, you can't just hang your hat on that and expect Matthew Tkachuk to just come in and be that spark plug that the team needs. It's obviously going to help having a guy like that in the lineup, but I think as of right now, they've done a pretty decent job. With the roster that they have put together, I mean, again, this is one of those teams that I think they've played, not necessarily exceeded their own expectations, but I think they've played up to the expectations I had for them personally coming into this year with all the injuries after we found out Barkov was going to be out for basically the rest of the year. And personally, for me, I don't think Barkov should come back. You saw what happened to Kevin Durant in 2019 after coming back from an ACL and an MCL. Not a great situation. So I personally, for his health, for his safety, I would just keep him out for the rest of the year. I would probably try to make a deadline deal since you can capitalize that cap space that you have if you fully put Barkov in LTIR for the rest of the year, which I think personally they should do. And they can bring in at least 2 really quality forwards at the deadline. Yes, you are giving up futures, but again, you're competing for right now. So if you think you have a shot to go for a three-peat, and it's all going to depend on how the team plays after Tkachuk comes back. Kulikov is still ways away. We still don't know what his status is, but it still would help having some of those depth guys back. But I think it's all going to depend how they look at the trade deadline, like in the standings and stuff like that, and how they're playing. Like if they're 10 games above 500, I think you should go for it personally. But I'm not the GM. I'm just a guy talking stuff on the internet, right? And the reality is, though, nothing is saved this season. The 77% playoff prediction rule might get shattered. Now, if you have enjoyed this breakdown up until this point, I would appreciate it if you give this video a like, whichever way you want to take it, a thumbs up as well would be greatly appreciated. It's either a like button or it's a thumbs up. You'll see it on YouTube. Whichever way you reciprocate it, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel grow and get it out there more to the public. Make sure you subscribe to the channel too as well if you haven't already. I'm posting hockey content on here. I'll be posting some momentary gaming content here and there, mostly centered around hockey, but sometimes around Fortnite. But if you want to come in and join my live streams where I talk about hockey, or we can talk about hockey, you're more than welcome to. And make sure you also share this video on those social platforms with all of your friends, all of your colleagues, anybody you talk to, anybody you know. It would be greatly appreciated as well. Make sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section as well. And with all that being said, my name is Nikita Nazarov. I am formerly known, as I said, as the Russian Hockey Analyst. Yes, I used to have 1,000 subscribers, over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I had to delete my channel because of copyright issues, but that's okay. I'm back now. I'm starting from scratch, but I'm excited for the journey, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Take it easy, and peace.
Something like shady, some insane maniac. Yeah, Slim Shady, that's a zany name, ain't it? No, you need an image to go with the name, baby. White beaters and white t-shirts, Hanes mainly, it's a